الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد صلى على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجبين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. In a hadith from our sixth Imam, our Imam, he used to have daily sessions for the people, and he had as many as 4,000 students, and all of that has been registered and is recorded. On one occasion, one of his students, his name is Zurara was absent. The next day, Imam inquires, Zurara, why were you absent yesterday? Because it is the lecture and the lesson of the Imam of your time. So being absent, not being present in the lecture and the lesson of the Imam, there should be some staunch reason. Zurara doesn't reply. And also at the same time, we have this aqidah that Imam, he has ilm which is ilmul ghaib, given to him by the Almighty Allah. So he doesn't need to inquire in reality, he knows. Asks again, no reply. And then Zurara says that I invited the best of people in town to my house yesterday at that time. Among those who cry for Abu Abdullah, your grandfather, the best, those who recited well, I invited them. Those who cried well, I invited them. And then we were a few of us, and every one of us recited, and we all cried for your grandfather Hussein. Imam says, I know, I was present in that majlis. And then he says that if you were present in the majlis, then why did you not step in, Yabna Rasulullah? Imam says, how could I have stepped in when my mother Zahra also was seated by the entrance, by the footwear of the Zuwar and the mourners of Abu Abdullah and Hussein alayhi salam. I could not step in respect to my mother Zahra. So a majlis that is held for the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, then Imam says that even if the audience was just one person, so a majlis 1-to-1, one reciter and one audience, one listening to him, one reciting, the other crying, he says the third one are us, the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So it's a great honor, this majlis of Abu Abdullah and Hussein, and we ask Allah never to seize away this tawfiq from us. May that be here and in the hereafter, and the barakat of such majalis be given to us in all forms and formats here and in the hereafter. Now when we investigate the events of Karbala after Ashura, we find that Karbala, it is not history anymore. Karbala, it is not only that geographical location that is in that part of the world anymore. Karbala has gone beyond history, beyond geography. And when we look into du'as also, for example, this du'a that we recited today, du'a nutba, in that du'a nutba says, Aina talibu bidam al-maqtul bi Karbala, means that where is the seeker, where is the avenger of the one who was killed in Karbala. At-Talib bidam al-Maqtul bi Karbala. So it means that even today, in the du'as that we have, in the aqidah that we have in the 12th Imam, Imam Hussein is still alive. That Imam, he says that, and he has taught us to remember him even after the passage of this time, 1250 years, we still remember Karbala and it is still alive. And for the Karbala, there says that إن لقتل الحسين حرارة في قلوب المؤمنين لا تبرد أبدا. That for this killing and murder of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, there is a heat in the hearts of mu'mineen that never cools down. So the reason why we are all hit and hurt and sad and in mourning and in grief, it is because of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, and that tragedy also it is still alive. Now the adab also given to us are that as soon as the baby is born, you give the baby some turba, some khaki-shifa, so that the baby tastes the dust of the grave of Imam first. Likewise, when a person dies, says they put some turba in his mouth, place some turba on his forehead, on his two hands, under his chin. That is, from that birthing station, from that cradle unto the grave, there has to be Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. And then we say that Allahumma rzuqni shafa'at al-Hussein yawm al-wurud. Yawm al-wurud, it is the day of arrival. Yawm al-wurud, it's the day of our arrival in barzakh, in our grave. روزی که ما وارد قبر میشیم، روزی که وارد برزخ میشیم، اونو میگن یوم الورود، که ما میگیم که خدایا این شفاعت ابا عبدالله الحسین را به ما نصیب کن. یعنی در همون روزی که ما وارد برزخ میشیم، آغاز سفر آخرتمون هستش. یا مثلا وقتی میبینیم که اینقدر زیبا it has been made the entire creation, that you start your life with the dust of the grave of Imam, you end and you depart with the same. It's like when you stand to say your prayers, we have to face the Kaaba. Why face the Kaaba? Because it is the Qibla. It is not only that. We face the Kaaba, and the essence of Kaaba is Amirul Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam. So in reality, when I'm facing the Kaaba, in addition to the Kaaba, I'm also getting connected to Amirul Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam. So it's two in one, just like Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and Karbala, and how everything has to be circling around the existence of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imamat, the concept of Imamat that we have, it is like that. That is, namaz, the prayers without Amirul Mu'mineen are worthless, useless. In another hadith says that if a person appears on the day of judgment with actions, not action of one mu'min, actions of 70 prophets, and that is all those actions and amal of 70 prophets, and he does not have the mahabbat of Amirul Mu'mineen in his heart, nothing will be accepted from him, nothing whatsoever. It's like that. So tawajjuh and giving importance to Karbala, it is important, extremely important. Now in this grand creation of Allah, there have been some women who played a very miraculous role in the guidance of mankind. For example, in Quran, Allah says, ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِمْرَأَةَ فِرْعَوْنَ. Says Allah, He sets forth a parable. He wants to make a role model for you. What is that role model, and for whom is it? Says لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, for the believing men and the women. Doesn't say only for women. So a woman is being made a role model for men and women. And here, who is that? Says Imra'at Fir'aun, wife of Fir'aun. So what did she do that was such miraculous that Allah says that I'm making her, Asiya, a role model for the believing men and the women, for all of them, as if a woman is being made an imam for everyone. What did she do? Says neither torture nor that oppression could submit her or made her surrender to Fir'aun. She did not. Until the last moment of her life, she supported the Imam of her time, the Waliullah of her time, and that is Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Fir'aun, he had these capital punishments for those who stood against him. There says in Quran, وَفِرْعَوْنَ ذِي الْأَوْتَادِ. Autad, it's the plural of watad. Watad means nails. So Fir'aun, he had nails. He used to nail them in the ground. And this person who has stood against Fir'aun was nailed in the ground, that is one hand to one nail, the other hand to the other one, and the two limbs stretched apart, tied onto those nails. And then a boulder was rolled and placed over the chest of this person, and then slowly, gradually, that person was sentenced to death, meaning crushed to death. Now Fir'aun's wife, the queen, she is punished here. That boulder is rolled onto the chest of Asiya, and then in the last moments of her life, she says, Rabb ibni li indaka baytan fil jannah. God, make me a house next to you, fil jannah, in the heaven, a house you make for me. Now this lady, she went through such a difficult time, through all that torture. Despite all that, she did not surrender. She did not submit to Fir'aun. So Allah says, ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِمْرَأَةَ فِرْعَوْنَ. Doesn't say that mathalan and a role model Allah is making for the women only. No. Says a role model for everyone, for the entire humanity. So if the wife of Fir'aun can be a role model, then Zainab Kubra also, she went through a tougher time compared to the wife of Fir'aun. Now we'll talk on those trials that Zainab Kubra went through and the trials that Asiya she went through. Now here, these days that we are in, it's the beginning of the captivity of Hazrat Zainab Salamullah alayha and the household of Wahiyah. That we have to say that we have had women in history who supported their leaders to the max, to the limit. For example, Prophet Musa alayhi salam. He is a prophet, Ulil Azm, one of the great prophets of Allah, to whom a book is revealed, and that is Tawrat. This Prophet Musa, he was helped and supported by 4 women throughout his life and 1 man. And that 1 man is his brother, that is Harun. The 4 women who supported Prophet Musa alayhi salam, first it's the mother, that when she gave birth to Prophet Musa, Allah, He reveals to Prophet Musa's mother that you feed the baby, put the baby in the box, in the basket, and then you cast the basket in the river, in the ocean. That was the first woman who supported Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Now it is the command of God. She also an obedient woman, because the rule that is over there is Fir'aun has given out the orders that every boy that is born has to be killed, and over 70,000 boys were killed by Fir'aun. Now then, the second woman who helped Prophet Musa alayhi salam is his own sister. Now the mother asks the daughter to put the baby in the basket and the basket in the river. And then says you watch the basket in such a way that no one finds out that you are following that basket. Be very slow, be very careful, very cautious, and make the scene look very natural and normal so that no one doubts on you that who are you and why are you following that basket. Now the second, so that no one doubts in this person, that is, don't shout, don't call out loud, mother, the baby, it's drowning, so that nothing, just keep everything gentle and calm. And then says you follow the baby and see what's happening. Now this sister, she follows, and the third lady who came in the life of Prophet Musa alayhi salam is Asiya, Pharaoh's wife. Now Pharaoh's wife, when she sees the baby, she's happy. She says that it's the joy and delight of my eyes. Pharaoh is informed that a baby is found in the castle, says kill him. She says la taqtul. We are barren, we haven't been blessed with a child. We can raise him, we can have him as our child. Pharaoh, the moment he sees the baby, he says, looks like this is that very child who's going to ruin my throne. Asiya, when she looks at the baby, she is optimistic. She says, I'll be saved through this. And it happens. And we do have these teachings also, that whatever you see and you say for the first time, and it is your optimism or your pessimism, that is what is going to unfold. People, they see, they have dreams, they get worried, they call that what is the interpretation of this dream. Dreams also, you interpret them yourself. You see something, you get up, and then you say, Inshallah, khair, whatever I saw was good, and Inshallah, good will unfold and good will unfold. People look at it in a negative way. I saw this and I saw that, it should be this and that. Then this and that negative and that pessimism will be seen and will unfold. So we have to be careful how we look into our lives. Be positive, everything will be positive. And then here, when Prophet Musa's sister, she is following the basket, the mother, and she finds out then now the baby wouldn't suckle anyone, wouldn't take anyone's milk. Now here Prophet Musa's sister, she says that Hal adullukum ala ahli baytin, shall I guide you to someone who can be a good nanny for your baby? Because so many women came to Pharaoh's palace and Prophet Musa would not drink from any one of them. Now here says Hal adullukum, shall I guide you? Very normal, so that very natural, so that no one doubts that what is she up to. Says okay. Now Prophet Musa's mother as a nanny is hired by the palace, and she raises her own son, and no one finds out this is the mother, no one knows that is the sister. So far 3 ladies who are supporting Prophet Musa alayhi salam. And then here we see the role of the mother. The role of the mother, it's not only to give birth, not only to just feed the baby. It's a whole lot of work that she has on herself, cleaning the baby, management of that baby, educating that child, health, monitoring the health of that child, and all that is accumulated and done by the mother. She knows when and what has to be done. If that mother is put aside, you need so many people to take that charge of the mother, and that is how Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He has given that charge, and that's why He says that the heaven is under the feet of the mother, not the father. So Prophet Musa also, here that's the third lady who says La taqtulu, don't kill Musa. We've got another La taqtulu in Quran, and that is regarding Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. So the brothers, they took Prophet Yusuf by the well to kill him. One of the brothers says, don't kill him, La taqtulu. Just like here, Asiya, she said, La taqtulu, don't kill the baby. They said, don't kill the son. Now what we learn from here is that sometimes sins that we do, if it's a major sin, that major sin, if that can be put away by going to something minor, that minor can be done. Not that we have to go and do a sin, or a person is sinning for an hour and that can be reduced to less than an hour, so it's better than committing sins for that one whole hour. So here the same thing was done. A gунah, a sin that was major, killing someone, was put away, and instead he was ditched into that well. He was saved. So that was also a sin. But compared to killing and that murder, this one was a smaller sin, a minor sin. Now the fourth lady who helped and supported Prophet Musa alayhi salam is his own wife, and that is Prophet Shu'aib's daughter. So here we see that in the life of one prophet, to support and to help that one prophet, we have four ladies who are supporting that one prophet. And then one man is there, and that is his own brother, who is supporting and who is helping Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Now Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha, we see that she chooses her brother over her husband. So in everyone's life, these tests and trials, they come across. Every one of us, we are going through all these difficult times where we have to keep on selecting and picking the right choice, the right selection. That is why in Quran we say, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, guide us on the right path. So we need this guidance all the way through, because anytime anyone can fall in the traps, anytime anyone can be misled, can be deviated. So for example, selection in schools, and then universities, and then spouse selection, child selection, work and job and everything. There are all these selections that are before us all the time, and we have to make the right decision, right choice at the right time. Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha, she also made the right selection and at the right choice. She had a husband to look after. She had a brother as well. So she chose the brother over the husband. Now the husband, he was a rich businessman living in Medina, but then she chose the brother. So over here we see that why did Imam Hussein bring his wife and children to Karbala? What was the reason behind that? And there here we see that had he not brought the women and children, this message would never have had reached us. And the identity and the bad nature of those who stood against Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam would have never been known to anyone. Now when we have all these bomb blasts nowadays, you see that some people are sad, people are hurt by these news that we get. But if that bomb blast takes place in a hospital like it happened in Afghanistan last year or before that, in one of the maternity rooms where so many women were killed, so many infants were killed, that was very painful, because a child, an infant who is helpless is killed. A woman who is helpless and in such a state that she is going through a pain and so many be killed, that is painful. So here in Karbala we see that all these different kinds of pains are there, that how come that nation, how evil they were, that they had no mercy upon women. They took the women into captivity, they arrested them, they took them from town to town, and not even ordinary people, it is the family of Rasulullah. Or when we look into the Masaib of the day of Ashura, there says that the biggest and the most important evidence of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein on the day of judgment of his Mazlumiyya is the presence of Ali Asghar alayhi salam. That an infant dehydrated and at the brink of a collapse, and the last stages of his dehydration. And Imam says, in lam tarhamuni, you have no mercy on me, have mercy on this infant. See how thirsty and how dehydrated he is. Now they also, instead of quenching this infant, they shoot an arrow at him. And there says that Hujjat Kubra Yeruz Mahshara Minas, that the greatest evidence of mine on the day of judgment is this young infant of mine. He is the biggest evidence before my God. So here we see that Zainab Kubra, she comes here, she chooses and makes the right selection, and that is choosing her brother over her husband. Not that she doesn't like the husband. No, there is a priority over here that has to be prioritized and made right selection. Now even the husband, it isn't as such that the husband was against it. Now when they returned to Medina and a majlis Fatiha was held for the two sons and the other shuhada of Karbala, there are people in every community. Some people, they came and they said that it's your two sons that were killed. Haif shud kash nemi firistadid, barachi firistadid Karbala, nemi firistadid. All of a sudden we see that Abdullah bin Ja'far, the husband, he comes and he was about to beat that person up. He says that my children, they had to be sacrificed. They had to be sacrificed for Hussein, and that is that support that he renders towards this noble cause and the qiyam and the uprising of Abu Abdullah and Hussein alayhi salam. Now there are some ayat in Quran. For example, understanding these ayat, it wouldn't have been easy if Zainab Kubra wasn't there. The presence of Zainab Kubra makes us understand that ayah easily. Like for example, Imam Khomeini, he stood against Pahlavi, against the Shah of Iran, a Shah who was ruling for 2000 years. And then he says, I don't fear anyone, no Western powers, no Eastern powers, none of them. Now this ayah in Quran says that الَّذِينَ يُبَلِّغُونَ رِسَالَاتِ اللَّهِ وَلَا يَخْشَوْنَ أَحَدًا إِلَّا اللَّهِ, says those who deliver the message of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and they do not fear anyone except Allah. So do not fear anyone except Allah. So it was Imam Khomeini not there, then we wouldn't understand what does it mean not to fear a ruler, not to fear an arrogant power, not to fear the East and the West and the superpowers. Likewise, when we see the seerah of Zainab Kubra and how she stood against Yazid, that is that arrogant power of his time, she delivers a speech, a very strong speech, and says to Yazid, Yazid, you are very low, says that you are miserable, you are very small next to me, says by God you have nothing in your possession. So where does this strength come from? How and what made her so strong? That is that tawakkul and the reliance upon Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And this Yazid, he is drowned in his riches, drowned in his wealth, drowned in his might, in his rule, in his power. So someone who is that first person of his time, he be addressed by a lady, and that is Zainab Kubra, and she says, you are nothing, you are low. And this Yazid, he is hosting a celebration for the murder and the killing of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Now in these celebrations for the victory, now this one woman, she comes and talks so strong, and these verses, they should be interpreted by Zainab Kubra herself, where she says that where the ayah says, La yakhshawna ahadan illallah, that they do not fear anyone except Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And she also did not fear anyone. Now, who is this Yazid? Quran says, وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ حَسِيبًا. She says that Yazid, God is enough for us, And Yazid says that God is enough. كَفَى بِاللَّهِ حَسِيبًا. Allah is sufficient. Allah wanted to defame you, He defamed you. He wanted to honor me, He honored me. Here in reply, she says that لا يحسبن الذين كفروا أنما نملي لهم خير لأنفسهم. Those faithless lot, don't think that if Allah has given you a muhlat and a respite, it is because you are good. Says that Allah, He wants you to increase your sins, to do a lot more sinning, so that you admit to your faithlessness, and in the end there is going to be a painful punishment for you. Now, like these drug smugglers, for example, all these smugglers, they think that no one is following them. The secret services, the police, they are watching them, every move of them. They're just waiting for the right time. So, if that respite is given to them, it doesn't mean that they are right and they can flee away, they can get away with whatever they are doing. Allah does in a similar way multiply that by infinity, that He gave that muhlat or that respite to Yazid so that he increases in his wrong and in his sins. Innama numli lahum liyazdadu isman, so that the sins and the wrong of Yazid, they are increased. And as a result of that excessive sinning, what happens is that walahum adhabun muhin, he will die faithless, and also there is a painful punishment. In Quran we've got adhabun azim, great adhab. We have adhabun muhin. Muhin, it's from ihana. There is a disgraceful punishment. Now this disgraceful punishment is for who? For all these oppressors like Fir'aun, like Yazid, and all these taghuts. For them it is not just punishment, a disgraceful punishment, a punishment that has a lot of humiliation in it. Now here Quran, then she says that inna rabbaka labil mirsad, says Yazid, Allah is on the watch out, Allah is in the ambush. Ala ya'lamu man khalaq, says alam ya'lam bi anna Allah yara. Alam ya'lam, that does he not know that Allah is watching, Allah is seeing. Now then she says that, do you think that you killed and you captured the family of Rasulullah and then you think that God loves you? God doesn't love you. God detests you, hates you, just giving you a respite so that you commit more and more sins and wrong, so that and then He will get hold of you. That is liyazdadu isman, so that more sins are done by you. Quran in the next ayah says, ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا السُّوءَ أَنْ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ. Now all these wrongdoers, when they do so much of a wrong and so much of a sin is done by them, ultimately أَنْ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ, they come to a point that they themselves, they deny and they reject the signs of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And Yazid, he did that. Yazid throughout, he used to say that when after seeing whatever unfolded, and he was a poet himself, and he says that laibat Hashimun bil mulki fala, that whatever you see, it was the play of the Hashimis, that is the Prophet and all that, they were just playing with all these rules and thrones and power. It was just a power game. Says laibat Hashimun bil mulki fala khabarun ja'a wala wahyun nazal. Yazid says no wahy has been revealed, no message has come forth. That is, he is denying the existence of Allah Jalla wa ala. Now these people who are like that, as a result of that excessive sinning, they come to a point that Allah brings them, they reject and they deny the existence of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So Zainab Kubra, she plays a very important role. Now when we look back into, now the ayah was ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, that Allah Allah has made a role model for you. For who? Not for women, for men and women. لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا Imra'at Fir'aun, and that is the wife of Fir'aun. Now she went through all that tough time, she went through all that torture, but she did not surrender, she did not submit. Now here when we look into the seerah of Ma'asumin and the torture and the masa'ib Zainab Kubra went through, they cannot be compared with the masa'ib of all other ladies. Among the other ladies that can be mentioned here is Hajar, wife of Prophet Ibrahim, Prophet Ibrahim, he was 100 years old, and at that age he was blessed with a son. Now here, that is Ismail alayhi salam. Now a father of this age blessed with a child. Now his tests and trials, they start. Allah says, take them to a land that has no green, that has no water. Now one lady, a mother who has just delivered with an infant, be stranded in a place, and that is Mecca, a hot place, no water, no green, no livelihood. That is the test. Now this test is not that difficult compared to the tests that Zainab Kubra, she went through. Now this baby is thirsty. Now I've been to Mecca a lot, and I've been in that Safa and Marwa also a lot. In ordinary circumstances, when there isn't much traffic, there it takes about 40 minutes or 30 minutes between Safa and Marwa, the 7 rounds, 30 to 40 minutes. And then after those rounds that Hazrat Hajar was running between the two mountains, the baby, he was rubbing the earth, and the water sprouts out, springs out, and that is Zamzam. So the baby was thirsty, baby was eased, and that water was provided. Now we have Karbala. So much of trouble, so much of torture, so much of masa'ib. They went through, but nothing sprouted, nothing came out. Now the distance over here that Hazrat Hajar went was half an hour, 7 rounds. Zainab Kubra, after Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, all her masa'ib, that journey starts. That is from Karbala to Kufa, and then from Kufa to Sham, and all in such a miserable way. In one of these riwayat that we have from our 5th Imam, he says that how we were taken from this point to the other point on rides with no saddles on them. That is because they don't want to respect and don't want to honor the Ahlul Bayt. So they want to disgrace them, and having a saddle on a horse or a camel means that we are respecting you and offering you a better seat to sit on. Here they gave them rides with no saddles on them, with nothing on them, so that a painful journey they have. So they wanted to humiliate them. Here, when we look into the Masa'ib there, that how much she went through, and all these women and children, the charge of that was given to them, and Zainab Kubra is the messenger of this caravan. Now, crying on Zainab Kubra, crying on the Masa'ib, it is one of those wajib actions and amal that has been taught to us, which needs to be one of the great Maraja Taqleed of the 1950s, Marhum Ayatullah Khansari. He says, all the amal and the actions that I have done throughout my life, I don't have hope in any one of them. No hope in any one of them. The only hope that I have, it is in the tears that were shed for Hazrat Fatima Salamullahi alayha, and on the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And in that wasiyyat also that he had, that was made public, that is what he says, that my ultimate hope is in crying and the masa'ib of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhimus salam. Now when we look back into the masa'ib there in Ziyarat Nahiyat al-Muqaddasa, Imam al-Asr, he says that وَأَسْرَعَ فَرَسُكَ شَارِدًا إِلَىٰ خِيَامِكَ, and then this horse of yours, it galloped and came fast towards your khiyam, قَاصِدًا مُحَمْحِمًا بَاكِيًا. That is, comes here, bakia means crying. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says that, do you know what was he saying? Why was he galloping towards the khiyam? Then Imam says and interprets the language of this horse, and saying, the horse was saying, الظَّلِيمَةُ الظَّلِيمَةُ مِنْ أُمَّةٍ قَتَلَتْ إِبْنُ نَبِيِّهَا وَهُمْ يَقْرَؤُونَ الْقُرْآنَ الَّذِي جَاءَ بِهِمْ إِلَيْهِمْ. Says that shame and complain of a nation who killed the grandson of their prophet, and whence they recite the book that was revealed on that prophet. Now, throughout this journey with this humble caravan, the usara that are present in this caravan are our fourth Imam, and then our fifth Imam Baqir also is a child here, and then Hassan ibn al-Hassan is there, and a few other members are present. Now, all these different stops and stations that this caravan was taken, and Yazid Ubaidullah, he instructs one of the Mala'in to carry the pure head of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. So 50 men were made to carry this head of Abu Abdullah. They say that we come to a point and we used to drink around the head every Maghrib, every sunset, and then says that I did not drink. One of them, he says I did not drink that evening, and I saw that a hand appears on the wall and was writing Atarju ummatan qatalat Husayna, that is, this nation that has killed Hussein, do they hope that his shafaat will be given, shafaat jaddihi yawm al-hisabi, they will benefit from the shafaat of his grandfather. Now these people, they rushed to hold the hand. Says the moment they come to the hand it vanished, and when they come back again, the hand appears and starts writing on the wall, Fala wallah laysa lahum shafi'un, by God they have no shafi', they have no one to intercede. Wahum yawm al-qiyamati fil adhabi, and on the day of judgment they are in that chastisement. And they come to hold the hand again, it vanishes and disappears. For the third time appears again and writes, وَقَدْ قَتَلُوا الْحُسَيْنَ بِحُكْمِ جَوْرٍ, they killed Hussein out of this arrogance and then disobedience. وَخَالَفَ حُكْمُهُمْ حُكْمَ الْكِتَابِ, and they went against the hukm and the command of the book of Allah. So this noble head of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein was all guidance all the way through. And then people, they used to come and used to cry. And then in people of Sham, they used to hit stones on the head of Abu Abdullah that was mounted on the entrance at the palace of Yazid. Here says that the moment one of these Malain, and they were taught and trained that it is worship to do so, says the stone was hit upon the head, and Imam says, Anal madloom, I am that oppressed, I am that madloom. Ala la'natullah ala al-qawm al-zalimin, wa saya'lamu alladhina zalamu ayyamun qalbin yanqalibun. Ilahi bihaqq al-zahra wa abiha wa ba'liha wa baniha wa sirr al-mustawda' fiha, 10 times. Ya Allah, 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 Allah, Ya Allah. Allahumma ahyina hayata Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, wa amitna mamata Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma arzuqna fid dunya ziyarata Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, وفي الآخرة شفاعة محمد وآل محمد. Ya Allah, all those who are ill and ailing, grant them shifa. All those who have requested for du'as, their du'as be granted. Ya Allah, all those who have passed away, forgive them, elevate their ranks. Ilahi, our children to be enlisted among the best of Muslims, hasten in the return of our Imam, our Master, our Hujjah, and count us all among the best of His servants. Muslims worldwide, wheresoever they be, Allah protect them from the evil of all shayateen in all forms and formats. وعجل في فرج مولانا صاحب الزمان ماتم حسين. محمد وعلى محمد.